So hello everyone, and thank you for joining another Foreman community demo. I'm Nafar, I'm an active developer within the Foreman project, and I'll be hosting the demo today. As usual, we have some new things we've been working on to share with you. So for any questions or comments, feel free to reach out to us on the Foreman group chat, or during the demo, you can also use the chat here on Google Meet. Okay, let's have a quick look at our agenda for today. We only have two topics, both from the Catalo team. So, yeah, for some reason, the screen sharing wasn't updated. So sorry for that. If you missed before that, it's the metrics group. We are available, so you can reach out to us. And the agenda for today. Okay, so as I mentioned, we only have two topics from Catalo team, so we can slowly start. Yeah, so first one is Ian with load balance container content. So Ian, whenever you're ready.
Gotcha. Thanks, Nafar. On my screen. So the topic that I'll be talking about today is something that we've added. Well, actually, we recently realized that we were missing support for this, and we had to make a small fix to make it work. But it essentially enables a whole new feature for people who need more highly available content from their smart proxies. Just to give a bit of context, so for folks who don't know, we do support smart proxies being behind a load balancer. We have documentation about this. You can find it on the configuring smart proxies with a load balancer documentation. And so generally how it works is you have your client, it'll request content from your load balancer, and then the most available load smart proxy will get the request. And this was historically used mostly for Yum content. And it's really just for massive installations where we have tons of clients requesting content, so many that it could make one smart proxy fall over. Now, what we didn't have support for that we realized was for container content. And this was because our smart proxies have a special container gateway, we call it, which is the registry that we've implemented for the smart proxies. And why is this container content different? So the way that we grab content for the Yum repositories is it's like direct access. Your client grabs the content from a web server, the files are there, it's easy. For containers, it's a little bit interesting because we have a registry, a container registry on the smart proxy, but so does Pulp, and we proxy Pulp's container registry. So pretty much the chain of actions is the client contacts the container gateway, which is the smart proxy plugin. Then that contacts the Pulp registry, and then Pulp comes back with not the content, but a pointer to the content in the form of a location header. And then the container gateway redirects the client to that location. Now, the problem is that this location has the host name of the smart proxy built into it. So if you think back about the load balancing situation, that is locking in one smart proxy behind the load balancer to be the machine that serves that content. This can be a problem because in some cases, the host, the client, might not even have direct network access to the smart proxy. They might have to go through the load balancer. And in this case, you would end up with a network error. So the fix that we have here is a new configuration option in the container gateway called the client endpoint, and it's the endpoint that the client should be redirected to actually grab the content. And what's very nice is that in our installer, we already have a configuration option that you set to notify, which endpoint you actually want all the hosts to contact to get their content, and that's called the registration URL. So in our installer, we just needed to set this client endpoint equal to the registration URL if you have it set, and then to users, it will just be seamless. When you run the installer the next time, if you're using a load balance setup, your client endpoint will be set correctly, and then all of a sudden, you'll be able to grab container content just fine through your load balancer. And I can share the pull request also in the container gateway if anyone's interested. Pretty much all that had to get updated were these two methods. There was one right here. That is the endpoint for getting manifests. And then there's another endpoint here, which is the one for getting blobs. And that was it. Once we fixed the redirect, where by editing the host, we were able to redirect that content properly for load balancers. And as well, if anyone is kind of new to this load balancing concept, I can also add a link to this documentation to the community demo post. Perhaps it could help people out if you're finding that your smart proxies are falling over because you have too many clients contacting them. And yeah, that's about it for my demo. Were there any questions?
Thanks, Ian. No questions. Yeah, feel free to ask later if there's any. Okay. Until then, our next demo is from Samir about partially synced smart proxy content counts. So Samir, whenever you're ready.
Hey, thanks, Nofar. Let me share my screen. All right, first let me explain partially synced capsules. So I'll share the screen. So this is our proxy here, and you can tie a proxy to different environments, but we also have a setting which is sync smart proxies after content view promotion. So if you have set this to yes, then anytime you promote a content view to a smart proxy environment, the smart proxy will get automatically synced and you don't have to worry about anything. But if you have this setting set to no, that's when the automatic smart proxy sync won't happen. And so that leads to two states. So your content view, so here this example, so I have a lifecycle environment and I have a content view demo. So this here shows as not synced, and the other case would be it is synced. When you have something which is not synced, we have a way to sync repositories inside a content view. So we have granular capsule syncing available. Let me hide this one and let me clear this out. So if you go to Hammer Capsule Content Synchronize, and once this works, you'll see we have options to pass a content view to sync. So you can isolate your smart proxy sync to a content view, to an environment, or even to a repository inside a content view. However, on the UI, we had no way to figure out. So this is an updated box with the fix in. So here you can see, for example, I have this repository where I have this sync. So I'm seeing content counts, and the other one has not been synced because I ran a Hammer capsule synchronize with the repository ID. And what this means is we used to have this field up to date on content views. So this is the API result from capsule content. And this up to date used to tell us whether the content view has been synced to the proxy or not. So this used to have two values, true or false. But since we have granular capsule syncs, this can also be partial. So you could have synced a child repository out of a content view. And that is when we needed to show these counts. So this would tell you that you actually synced one repository out of a content view. So this is in case of like your own environments. We also have default environment library and a default organization view. This holds all of your repositories in the library environment for default organization view. And this used to be a problem. If you created a new repository and did not sync to the smart proxy, the entire content view would become not synced. And then we would not show any content associated with this default view. So with this fix, even if you have partially synced environments, content views, you should be able to see your content counts. So this is the point of the whole partially synced content counts. Okay, so this is more of a bug fix. There was another small thing I needed to show. So we recently merged a small change around image mode hosts, and that, so I have an image mode host here. You can tell that it's image mode by looking at this card. So I have a running image on this particular host. So what's special about image mode hosts is any package actions you do on the image mode host will not be persisted. So those are all transient. So the next time you boot your host, all of those changes will be lost. We wanted a way to make it clear to the users on all the pages that they can perform package actions on. So that's where this notice comes in. So now there will be a notice on all image mode hosts, warning them that any updates they do from this page, the other place is from bulk actions. So if you try to install, for example, upgrade packages here, we have added a small text saying that any package actions on this image mode host will be transient, just to make sure users are aware of this. Okay, and that's about it from me.
Thank you, Samir. Yeah, I don't see any questions, so I guess everything was clear. Yeah, and that was all for today. So our next demo, unless there are any changes, the next demo will be on May 1st. And yeah, I don't see any more questions, so I'd like to thank everyone for joining, and of course for Samir and Ian for presenting. And so see you all next time.
Thanks all.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.